don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
Okay. So for those who have no idea who I am, I'm saying it for the purpose of this video. My name is Lakeysha. Those who know me know me. When it comes to what we're about to talk about, a lot of people don't know me. I wasn't going to do this video mostly for the same reason partially for the same reason why I deleted my first video. In 2019, I gave birth to my daughter in August, and prior to going on my IVF journey with my husband and I was at Dr. Jackie's practice. At that time it was 3. I can't remember the third person or the third OB's name, but Dr. Passiani, Dr. Jackie. I had been going to Dr. Passiani for like 2 years prior to even meeting my husband and going through our IVF journey. And, you know, when you become a mother, and especially since, we did a lot to get through our IVF journey. I had made a lot of sacrifices on my body. Dr. Passiani was right there through it all with me, right? Not really sure of her nationality, but I know she wasn't a woman of color. And I remember doing research in my 3rd trimester, trying to figure out, or getting close to my 3rd trimester, trying to figure out what I wanted my options to be, or what I wanted to look at, what the options were for me giving birth. And in that research, I found out that women of color are more impacted when it comes to having having childbirth and in the medical system, and how we are acknowledged, how our pain is handled. And I knew none of that, right? Because I'm not a person that goes to the hospital. I've never been treated that way, but I've always went to like specialty doctors or, like little specialists or whatever. So, and this was the first time me giving birth. I was in my mid to late 30s. So this was a whole new experience for me, right? So I was already freaking out enough. And then we went through IVF and we went through this whole process. And so anyway, I remember my aunt, my mother, and my husband, we were all talking about what I had found in my research about when women of color, I think it was like a 3%, it was an additional like 3% increase of women of color who suffer mortality in childbirth, right, than any other race, nationality. And I remember saying I didn't want to leave the practice that I was at, but I knew Dr. Jackie was there and she had a seat at the table. That was my exact words. So I hadn't talked to Dr. Passiani. I had the conversation with my family first. And then I don't know who I contacted at her practice, but I asked to speak to Dr. Jackie and if we could, meet with her. We met with her. We were all in one room, and I told her that based on like the research, you have a seat at the table. I don't want to go through what a lot of women of color are going through. I don't want to be a statistic. I'm already freaking out. I'm scared. And I would like to switch to you because I feel like you as a woman of color would have my best interest in mind in going through, something that was foreign to me, which is childbirth, right? She was very much like, okay, we'll talk to Dr. Passiani. We agreed. It was me, her, and my family. And I came to her with all of these things that were on my heart of, I couldn't believe that women of color were really being treated like this at a time where childbirth is damn near as close to death as you could possibly get while living. Like, I don't understand how someone's pain level could be in question. I don't understand the statistics and why basically why I was reading what I was reading, right? I'm not oblivious to the things that are happening in the current environment that we're in, but childbirth, that's insane, right? Like childbirth. So anyway, moving on. I finished all of my follow-up visits with Dr. Jackie. We had a plan to induce me, and the date, my daughter's arrival date was supposed to be August 21st. And we were kind of fighting back and forth with Northside, which is supposed to be a hospital that's great for women for their child and delivery department. And yeah, I mean, it was nice, don't get me wrong. The accommodations were nice, but I remember going in the day that they were inducing us. It was me and my husband. Dr. Jackie and another lady of color walked in with her, and she had been trying to get me in for like a day and a half. And I remember seeing her saying that, okay, she did some paperwork. She said she would be back. My impression, not even my impression, but the game plan was supposed to be to give me Cervidil. So I think when I came in, I was like 3 centimeters to get me to dilate more, right? Okay, I'm with the game plan. I wanted a natural birth. I didn't want an epidural. I didn't want a C-section, because those are all the things that obviously I was afraid of, right? So I never saw Dr. Jackie again after she left. She literally came in for maybe 5-10 minutes to discuss what we were going to do, and I didn't see her again. And a few hours later, this Caucasian lady walked in, and she introduced herself, and I said, okay, where is my doctor? Where's Dr. Jackie at? Oh, well, we're her rotating practice. I absolutely knew nothing. I was so green, because I didn't even know that that was a question to ask, right? I don't know. In my head, I just felt like, you're going to be here regardless, right? It doesn't matter if I give birth. Whenever I give birth, you're going to be here. And I was oblivious to, like, I know that their lives cannot, roll around patients, because they would never get a break and be with their families. I understand that, but I was never told that there was a rotating practice, because then I would have wanted the opportunity to meet them, get to know them, maybe select someone of color in their rotating practice or whatever. I was just given somebody from the practice, right? So then she comes in and she's like, well, we're going to break your water. And I'm like, well, that's not what we discussed. I thought we were going to allow me to dilate more. And I feel like if you break my water, then it's not really giving my baby a fighting chance. And she gave me this whole hoopla, whatever. And I said, well, I think you should contact Dr. Jackie. Oh, she's not available. So here I'm in a situation where I don't know this lady. She's the only lifeline I have to Dr. Jackie. And I now do not even have that lifeline anymore because she's unavailable. So, and this lady is completely changing everything that Dr. Jackie and I, with my family, had talked about, right? So then I was like, okay, well, if that's what we have to do. She then broke my water. They gave me the epidural, which they didn't really have to fight me on it. My contractions weren't bad. So they gave me the epidural. Then I started feeling a lot more pain. I couldn't even tell the difference between my contractions or the epidural. So then they tried to give me a second epidural. That gave me more pain. So then my husband noticed that my heart rate was going up and my temperature was going up. And they were like, we have to make a decision. I was only at 4 centimeters by that time. We have to make a decision. I can't even remember how long I labored. It wasn't even a full day. And they were like, we have to make a decision. Your body is in stress. So now I felt like a lot of the stress was coming from what they did to me. I couldn't even tell you. I may have felt maybe 2 contractions, and everything else was just a horrible pain that I felt in my abdomen area, in my back area, which did not feel like contractions. Based on what I thought contractions were and what people were saying contractions should feel like, that's not what it felt. It felt like. It didn't feel like cramping. It didn't feel like burning. It just was a abnormal amount of pain. And since I hadn't dilated any further, I wasn't really going, through the heavier parts of labor. So anyway, when my husband saw that, I asked them to clear the room, and I looked at my family and I started crying. And I was just like, everything I asked, everything that I said I didn't want to happen to me is happening. Nobody's listening to my pain. They're just throwing the epidural at me, and the epidural is not even the problem because that's attached to me laboring, and that I wasn't having laboring pains. I don't even know what kind of pain I was having. I just know I was in extreme pain. And my family was just like, well, Nisha, we can't lose you. So you're going to have to make a decision. And that was the hardest decision that I think I've ever made in my life, because I just didn't want that to be the dynamics of me giving birth. We had just went through IVF. I had multiple surgeries and procedures just to even get to the IVF process to be able to have my daughter. And then here we are. I'm going from one extreme to another, then another one where I felt like I had someone to help protect me from whatever it was that was going to happen. So now moving on, I make the decision with my family, and we're like, if you got to do what you got to do. I said to the anesthesiologist, but I still feel all of the pain in my abdomen. I still feel all of this weird pain, and I don't know what this pain is. They literally ignored me. They ignored everything that I said and was just like, well, we're going to go ahead and do the C-section. And once we get in there, we'll medicate you more. And they can only do so much, right? Because then it start impacting my baby. So they could really only give me a certain amount of medication or certain types of medication. And I will never forget, as soon, my husband's behind me, and I felt that initial cut. And the last thing I remember is letting out this scream and saying, I feel it, I feel it. And then I heard them tell my husband, sir, you have to leave. And then I woke up in recovery. I didn't even wake up in recovery with my baby. My baby was in recovery because they had to slow her breathing down from what they gave me. That is something. My daughter is 4 now. That is an experience that was supposed to be beautiful between me and my family. As a woman of an older age, it was already hard for me to conceive. And then that is an experience that I will absolutely never forget. The other part that I will never forget is how Dr. Jackie treated us. We stayed in the hospital for 4 days because we had to recover from what happened. She never even came. She never came to see us. She never came to talk to us. And I'm sure she knew about what happened. And I posted a video after my daughter because I was like, okay, you know what? Let me see if this is a way that I can kind of get this off my chest, because I was dealing with it and I was still crying a lot. And I had a lot of issues toward it. I had talked to some people at her practice and said that I was no longer coming to her practice and the reason why. So I'm sure I got back to her. She never called. She never reached out. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, Dr. Jackie is a very warm-spirited person. But when it comes to how she treated us, I don't know how she treats other people. I know how she treated us, right? And I don't understand how you can now be the voice advocating for women of color when it comes to childbirth. The way that you treated us like we were just a number. The way that you did me, my family, and my child, you didn't even come to see us after you knew about what happened. And then, even if I give you grace to say, maybe you didn't know, maybe the rotating practice didn't tell you. I told your staff the reason why we were no longer coming back to your practice. And you still never reached out. You never called. You never reached out. You never sent anything to say, how are you doing? I'm sorry I couldn't be there for you. Being in the hospital for 4 days when you... And I was your patient, and you never even came to check on me, to even see my daughter. I will never respect you. I will never respect you. And I'm doing this because I saw your apology video. And for those women who feel like I feel, because I'm sure I'm not the only one. I cannot be the only one that she has done this to, that has made a woman of color. And even if you're not a woman of color, the topic is around women of color. But even if I wasn't if I wasn't the only woman that this was done to, I don't know how your conscience has let you handle this. I don't understand as how you could be having these conversations to advocate for us. You weren't even advocating for your own patients. You weren't even advocating for me. I think your apology is garbage, even though I forgave you 4 years ago. That's why I took my first video down. And you guys will see that first video because I'm going to re-upload it. And that was right after my daughter was born, because I had to deal with the trauma of that. I don't respect you. I don't feel like morally and ethically you even have that compass. I don't think you have any morals or ethics. And I think the only reason that you're crying now is because the community wants to cancel you because of that video. And that's probably exactly how you feel. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't sit in that category, right? Me and my husband have insurance. We both have careers. This is something that, but at that time, she was delivering a lot of celebrity kids. And the first thing that my mother said, and I'm her only daughter. This is her first grandchild from me. And the first thing my mother told me was, don't cry about her. You're just not a celebrity. I remember like how I felt, as I already felt like I didn't have a voice or anyone to advocate for me in that hospital. But then even for my OB to take it further and make me feel like I didn't even matter. Me and my baby didn't even matter. I'm not saying you deserve to be canceled, but what I am saying is I hope that you reflect on a lot of the pain that you've caused on people, because that is a pain that I will never be able to not be traumatized by. While you get to go off and you get to deliver more babies and have your practice, that left scars on me and my family, and an experience that was supposed to be a good time after going through the struggle of conceiving a child, and then now going through a struggle of now me trying to deal with postpartum at the same time dealing with what happened to me and how you left me in that situation. So anyway, that is my story, and I don't feel like you're sorry. I feel like you're sorry that video came out at a time where you were able to make a leap in your career and in your world of reality TV because of the vice president. But you don't deserve to advocate for us. You don't deserve to be that woman and that spokesperson. You don't deserve that role. But I do wish you well. That's my story, y'all.
So guys, we are back again discussing Dr. Jackie. As I stated before, when I get videos, or if I find them, I'm going to bring it on here and talk about it. And thank you to Sharon Smith for actually sending me this video. I'm not able to catch every video, but this video actually had me in tears. Now, I'm not saying the other people in their videos didn't matter. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying everybody had a horrid experience. But one thing that they all shared is they said this lady was mean, she was cold, and she pretty much just left them. Now, this patient explained that when she met Dr. Jackie, she actually sat down, not saying, I'm discounting any of the other patients' experience, but because they all had a different experience, I'm just trying to find how could she have done things better. And in each story, I do not come up with an answer as to how Dr. Jackie continually makes these same mistakes over and over again. Now, with this particular patient, she mentioned that she sat down, met with Dr. Jackie, and told her about her, how she was afraid and she didn't want, all of these different things to happen to her. And to go into delivery and have Dr. Jackie basically leave, and then another doctor comes in, and she didn't even tell her that she would be pretty much handing her off to another doctor. Like, she had no knowledge. Now, we understand, like, if you're out of town or something, but for her to be with her patient at the hospital, but you're not there for her to deliver her baby and you give her over to someone else, I've never heard of that. But as I stated to you guys in my previous videos, this seems like a woman who's constantly taking patients that she cannot handle. It seems to be all about money and less about care. Again, this was, I don't know what else to say. She told her story very, very well. She even went as far as to reaching out to Dr. Jackie, letting them know her concerns when Dr. Jackie knew everything that happened to her. And as multiple patients had stated, they had been in the hospital and she never came to visit them. So let me kind of tell you guys about my experience. It's been a long time. I'm old. But I remember when I had my son, and my son is going to be 23 years old. The first thing I did was like, I need to find a pediatrician. Now, this is why, this lady, she just doesn't have what it takes to be a doctor. When my son was born, the pediatrician also came to the hospital. So not only did I have my doctor, I had the pediatrician, because the pediatrician wanted to see his new patient, which was my son. So the fact that your patient was in the hospital for 4 days, but this is not new information. We have heard these countless stories with Dr. Jackie patients saying, I was in the hospital for XYZ amount of days and she never came. So how is it that this is your patient and you never check in with the hospital to see how they're doing, or you never show up? You don't need to show up and stay for 5 hours. It's a brief check-in, check-out. So you guys, if you find any more videos or anything, please send them to me. Again, I am definitely going to be working on this petition this weekend. And thank God to social media, I can actually reach out to Kamala Harris via social media. We got to do something about this. Like, something has to be done. I am actually glad that Dr. Jackie said what she said about Black women. I'm actually glad, because if she wouldn't have said that, we would have never known, and she would have continued to wreak havoc in people's lives. So, she just really said what she felt. So we really can't be mad about that. But the good thing that came out about this is we're able to see who this lady really is, and we're able to see all of the people that she has hurt. And as I stated before, that apology was fake. Even the previous patient in this video said the same thing. Everybody is feeling the same thing. This apology was fake. It was forced because her business partners and Bravo, they're forcing her to do this. She's basically crying like a kid because she doesn't want to apologize to you people. She doesn't feel like she owes you an apology. She is able to feel exactly how she wants to feel. And she's told you how she feels. She feels that Black women lie. She feels like she doesn't need to give you any type of excuse because you really just want to be off of work. And she's pretty much said what she feels. So at this point, we have to take Dr. Jackie for who she is. She said what she said, and it is what it is. So you guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.